Hello, my name is Taso Comanescu, and welcome to EliteGuitarist.com. Today I'll be going over one of my favorite Celtic hymns, Be Thou My Vision, arranged by Jonathan Roth. The tuning for this piece is drop D, so you want to lower your 6th string by a full step. And we're going to start with part 1, which is the first page, bars 1 through 23. So in the very beginning, I like to use my 2nd finger on the D, which is the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. I have that there, and I plant my thumb on the low D and my middle finger or index finger. It really depends on how your nails are feeling that day. So you can check your nails by rubbing them against the inside of your thumb like this. And whichever one feels smoother to you, you might want to start with that one. And so you play these octave Ds at the same time like this. And I like to add a little bit of vibrato. If you look at the score, it says meditatively, and so I think of the introduction as the first 8 bars, and I tend to play those with a bit of space, okay? So here's measure 1. You want to start with your 2nd finger, like I said, on that D. Play them together with some vibrato. And that takes you into measure 2, okay? And so on beat 2 in measure 1, we have our first finger on an A, which is the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and we're leaving our middle finger down on that D. And you're going to sneak an open E in on top, which makes it a D9 chord. So again, this is measure 1 going into measure 2. Notice how I left my 1st and 2nd finger down because we're going to need those for bar 2, and the only difference between bar 1 and 2 is the F sharp on the 6th string 4th fret with your 3rd finger. And then to measure 3, you have a G on the 5th fret of the low string. So the bass line in the first 3 bars is D, F sharp, G, okay? And the same figure on top, and again, you might want to add some vibrato on beat 1 of those first 3 measures. It helps create a mood for the piece, if you will. And at the start of bar 4, we have a C sharp on the 2nd fret of the 2nd string with an open A in the bass, okay? So you play that for 2 beats with some vibrato, and then on the end of 2, you sneak in an open G, and then you're going to slide from the 2nd fret to the 3rd fret, from the C sharp to the D like this. And that takes you into measure 5. So this is bar 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. Okay? And bar 5 is exactly the same as bar 1 at the start of the piece. So you can do some vibrato there, maybe a rest stroke if you like for extra emphasis. And you can practice with each of your individual fingers, your index finger, your M finger, your middle finger, or your A ring finger, rest stroke with your thumb playing free stroke on the open D. And then you'll find very quickly that you probably prefer one finger over the others. So they have a different sound depending on how your nails are doing that day. Okay, so bar 5. At the start of bar 6, we have an open E with an F sharp in the bass, 4th fret of the 6th string, and then D, A, E, D. That's all that D9 chord. So you're going to leave your 1st and 2nd finger down, okay? So bar 6, and then G with your pinky on the 5th fret of the low string with an open B, open D with your thumb, open G with your index finger, and then an A with a C sharp on the 2nd fret of the B string to close out the introduction. And you'll notice in Jonathan Roth's score, poco rit, meaning a bit of slowing down in bar 7 leading up to bar 8. And that concludes our intro. So bars 5 through 8, little vibrato, leave your fingers down, slowing down, and then some vibrato, count to 3, 2, 3, and then we're off into the main melody of the piece in bar 9, okay? And you notice in the score that says a tempo, and that means settle into the tempo that you started with less rubato, or rubato means a robbery essentially of time. So when you take some, you have to give some back. But here we're going to stick to our tempo. And I worked on this piece actually with the arranger, Jonathan Roth. He was one of my professors at Pepperdine. And this sort of first part of the piece, this first verse, if you will, we need to play it fairly even, he said, but with a little bit of feeling. So in bar 9, you're going to start with an arpeggio of the open bass strings, and then an A on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. And that's the accompaniment. The melody is on the 2nd string, 3rd fret with a D. So this is beat 1 and 2 of measure 9. So I like to use my middle finger, and then thumb, thumb, index, and add some vibrato. And it's really nice to do vibrato through the arpeggio. So you don't want to just stop like this. You want to carry it through. And it creates a nice mood there, okay? And then you're going to use your 3rd finger on beat 3 for an F sharp in the bass, and then an open E on top. I use my middle finger and then my index finger on the D. So this is bar 9 into bar 10. And when you start the tune, you might want to play mezzo forte. If you notice in the score, it's mezzo piano, so a bit quiet. You want to go to your medium volume here in bar 9. So in bar 10, we have an open B with our middle finger, and then our thumb will play a G on the 5th fret of the low E string. And then an open D here with our thumb. And then this beat 2, the arranger told me to do a vibrato on the A right here. It creates a nice overtones there. So this is bar 10, 1 and 2, and then open B on beat 3. And you can let those notes ring into each other if you like. And then on bar 11, we go to an A with our thumb on the 5th string. And then our middle finger, at least I like to use my middle finger on the D here, which is again the 3rd fret of the B string. Then an open G with your index finger. Thumb will play an F sharp with your 3rd finger on the 4th fret of the D string. Then an open G. So that's beat 1 and 2. 1 and 2 and then your pinky here is free, right? So you can sneak it around your 3rd finger, let go of everything else, and play a C sharp on the 4th fret of the A string with an open E. Okay, that's beat 3 of bar 11. And then you have a D major chord right here on bar 12, which you can roll. I roll it the first time around, and I'll show you later in part 3 that I played as a block chord just for variety. But you want a half bar here. This is bar 12, half bar on the 2nd string. So half bar means you're barring 3 strings, right? And then your middle finger or your 2nd finger goes on that D. So this is bar 11 and 12. D chord for 3 beats with vibrato, 2, 3. And then bar 13, this next system here, 4th system, page 1, your thumb will play an open A, 5th string, and I use my A finger to play free stroke open E at the start there. This highlights our A major chord. You'll notice in the score there, right after beat 2 of measure 13, there's a little bracket with a 1. So if you look at my left hand here, you're going to see that I'm doing not a full bar, but I'm just barring the 4th string and the 3rd string on the 2nd fret, okay? Sort of a half collapsed bar. And then I sneak my 2nd finger on the C sharp right there, 2nd string, 2nd fret with an open E on top. So I'm doing ring finger and thumb, thumb, index, thumb, and then my middle finger and ring finger, or M and A, on beat 3. Okay? And then in bar 14, your 1st finger goes to a B here on the 2nd fret of the A string with an open E on top. And you're going to throw down your 3rd finger on the F sharp, which is the 4th fret of the D string. So 1 and here, if you watch my left hand, my 1st finger is going to collapse into a 5/6 bar at the start of beat 2 of measure 14, so I can grab the A on the 2nd fret of the G string and the F sharp with my A finger on the 2nd fret of the high E string, and then we're going to play the F sharp again with our thumb. That's the F sharp an octave lower on the 4th fret of the D string. And then on beat 3 with our 2nd and 4th finger, which are free, we're going to play the D and then on beat 3, with our second and fourth finger, which are free, we're going to play a D and then an A. So the D is on the second fret of the third string, and the A is on the fifth fret of the high E string. Okay, so this is bar 14. Collapse the bar. Okay, you want to make sure, just a general rule of thumb, that your bar is not at an angle like this, but you're using the weight of your elbow and you're playing close to the fret. And notice the crescendo from bar 13 through 14. You're rising to bar 15 here. Okay, so you want to start a little quieter on bar 13. Start growing into bar 15 on that G chord right there. Okay, and you notice the Roman numeral there. So it's bar 5, right? And our pinky is on the 7th fret of the high E string. That's a B. And our third finger is on the D, 3rd string, okay, 7th fret. We've played all our Ds so far down here. Now we're playing it here, okay? Bar 15, we start like this, and then we play a D on the 5th fret of the A string on the and of beat 1 like this, and we let it ring, notice the tie there, into beat 2. You can back off a little bit in bar 16. And this is an A major chord, which is a half bar, so I'm barring half of the strings, or the first, second, and third string, and then I'm sneaking my second finger on the 6th fret of the G string, which is a C sharp, and that squiggly line means to roll the chord intentionally and let it ring for the entire bar. And I like to add some vibrato. Okay, this is an A major chord. So bars 15 and 16. 2, 3. Next system, bar 17. I use my third finger. The score says 4, but I personally use my third finger here on the harmonics. And the Roman numeral is meaning the 12th fret, okay? And you want to lightly touch the strings, put a little bit of pressure, and as soon as you pluck with your right hand, let go to let the harmonic breathe, so to speak. So I'll do that slowly, and then I'll do it quickly as a roll. Okay? And those are supposed to ring through the entire bar 17, so don't touch those strings when you go to the next bit, which is all on the first string, okay? So beat 1 of measure 17 is harmonics, the 12th fret, the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string. And then we go to the 1st string, okay? On the B, which is the 7th fret of the high E string. And then the 9th fret, same string, C sharp, 10th fret, D, and then back to the C sharp at the 9th fret on the and of 3. And you'll notice I'm using the same finger on my right hand, which is my middle finger. And this is to control the sound, okay? And I add some vibrato there on the high one. You can grow into it. Okay, and this is the start of measure 18 is a B. And then you're going to shift down to the second position using your pinky now on the A. Okay, 5th fret of the high E string, and then a hammer on beat 3 from F sharp to G, which is the 2nd fret to the 3rd fret with your 1st and 2nd finger. So this is bar 18. Okay, bar 19 is back to A with your 4th finger on the 5th fret of the high E string, and then you're going to play a B and a D together. The B is the 2nd fret of the 5th string, and then the D is that same one we've been playing all piece long, which is the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. And then you're going to shift down 1 fret with your 2nd finger and let go of the B so that you get an open A in the bass with your thumb and a C sharp on top. So bar 19. And you can slightly break these. You don't have to play them totally together every time. You can do a slight break like that. Add some feeling and a little bit more vibrato. And you can sneak in a rest stroke if you like this. On the C sharp with your middle finger. But not too hard. It's just more for a different color if you like it. And then bar 20, we have our pinky or 4th finger, as we should be calling it, on the 5th fret of the low E string, okay, with an open B on top, open D with your thumb, open G with your index, then back to the D. Okay, so that's beat 1 and 2 in bar 20. Then we let go of the bass note and go to beat 3, A, 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and then an open B. So this is bar 20. Grow a little bit into the downbeat of beat 21. Okay, so I'll demonstrate. And now we have a crescendo through bar 21. This is the final system of part 1, or the first page, essentially. So bar 21, we're going to have a low D with our thumb, and then remember, because we're in drop D, and our index finger plays an A, which is the 2nd fret of the 3rd string with our 1st finger on our left hand, and then that same D on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. Okay, so 1 and, the and is an open A. Half bar to grab the F sharp with our 1st finger, 2nd fret of the 1st string, and then an open D, and then an A with our pinky here on beat 3, and that's the 4th finger is on the 5th fret of the 1st string. So this is bar 21. Crescendo, use your pinky as a guide up to the 7th fret. Okay, so notice how I'm not letting go. A lot of people tend to do this. Notice how you get that string noise, right? And then have to find the string again. It's much easier just to slide it over. And if you get a little bit of a slide, it sounds pretty musical, actually. Nice and sweet vibrato there. Okay, notice the Roman numeral 5 at the top of bar 22. So you're going to be barring the 5th fret with your index finger, 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the G string, which is a D, and then your 4th finger on the 7th fret of the high E string. I use my A finger for that on the right hand. And then I don't personally do a slur, even though it's marked there. I pluck the and of 1 with my middle finger, and I let go of my 4th finger and grab that A on the bar of the 5th fret, which is on the 1st string. And then I let go of the chord on beat 2 and play an F sharp at the 7th fret of the 2nd string, and I add some vibrato. Now I'd like to point out with vibrato in this piece, you don't want to do it as Tavi says, with too much caffeine like this, okay? That just is not appropriate for the overall mood of the piece, if you will. So you want to make sure that your vibrato is nice and even. So if your tempo is 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and... So your vibrato should match your tempo, okay? You can do a little bit of a retard there, and then leave your pinky down, and on beat 3 you're going to sneak your 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the G string, and then play that F sharp again. And then the last cadence, if you will, of this phrase is on bar 23. You're going to play an A chord like this, so thumb plays an open A, C sharp 2nd, thumb plays an open A, C sharp 6th fret of the 3rd string with your index finger, and then your middle finger plays an E on the 5th fret of the B string like this. You can add some vibrato, and then notice it says poco rit, so you're going to slow down a little bit, and then throw your 3rd finger down on the 3rd string. Notice the 3 that's circled, that's what that means. 7th fret of that 3rd string, D. Do it twice, and then we're off to part 2. So let me demonstrate here the last system. Bar 21, guide finger up to bar 22, vibrato, add some vibrato here, slowing down a little bit, and then we're off to part 2.